Welcome, kind listener. My name is Gentle Fox. You may not know me now, but by the end of this masterpiece, you will, and I trust you'll think of me as an old friend. What you'll be hearing tonight is an excerpt from our Twitch stream. I hope you'll enjoy that extra ambiance and my soft-spoken voice as we explore Leo Tolstoy's classic, Anna Karenina. Chapter 6. When Oblonsky had asked Levine why in fact he had come, Levine had blushed and become angry with himself for blushing, because he could not answer. "I've come to propose to your sister-in-law," though he had come only for that. The houses of Levine and Shabbatsky were old, noble Moscow houses, and had always been in close and friendly relations with each other. This connection had strengthened still more during Levine's student days. He had prepared for and entered the university together with the young Prince Shabbatsky, brother of Dolly and Kitty. In those days, Levine had frequented the Shabbatsky's house and had fallen in love with the family. Strange as it might seem, Konstantin Levine was in love precisely with the house, the family, especially the female side of it. He did not remember his own mother, and his only sister was older than he, so that in the Shabbatsky's house he saw for the first time the milieu of an old, noble, educated, and honorable family, of which he had been deprived by the death of his father and mother. All the members of this family, especially the female side, seemed to him covered by some mysterious poetic veil, and he not only saw no defects in them, but surmised, behind the cover of this poetic veil, the loftiest feelings and every possible perfection. Why these three young ladies had to speak French and English on alternate days, why at certain hours they took turns playing the piano, the sounds of which were heard in their brothers' rooms upstairs, where the students worked. Why all these teachers of French literature, music, drawing, and dancing came there. Why at certain hours all three young ladies, with Mademoiselle Lidon, went in a carriage to Tverskoy Boulevard in their fur-lined satin coats, Dolly in a long one, Natalie in a three-quarter one, and Kitty in a quite short one, so that her shapely legs in tight-fitting red stockings were in full view. Why they had to stroll along Tverskoy Boulevard accompanied by a footman with a gold cockade on his hat. All this and much more that went on in their mysterious world he did not understand, but he knew that everything that went on there was beautiful, and he was in love precisely with the mysteriousness of it all. During his student days, he nearly fell in love with the eldest one, Dolly, but she was soon married to Oblonsky. Then he began falling in love with the second one. It was as if he felt that he had to fall in love with one of the sisters, only he could not make out which one. But Natalie, too, as soon as she appeared in society, married the diplomat Lyov. Kitty was still a child when Levine left the university. The young Shabbatsky, having gone into the navy, was drowned in the Baltic Sea, and Levine's contacts with the Shabbatskys, despite his friendship with Oblonsky, became less frequent. But when, after a year in the country, Levine came to Moscow at the beginning of that winter and saw the Shabbatskys, he realized which of the three he had really been destined to fall in love with. Nothing could seem simpler than for him, a man of good stock, rich rather than poor, 32 years old, to propose to the young Princess Shabbatsky. In all likelihood he would be acknowledged at once as a good match. But Levine was in love, and therefore it seemed to him that Kitty was so perfect in all respects, a being so far above everything earthly, while he was such a base earthly being that it was even unthinkable for others, or for Kitty himself, to acknowledge him as worthy of her. After spending 2 months in Moscow, as if in a daze, seeing Kitty almost every day in society, which he began to frequent in order to meet her, Levine suddenly decided that it could not be, and left for the country. Levine's conviction that it could not be rested on the idea that in the eyes of her relatives he was an unprofitable, unworthy match for the charming Kitty, and that Kitty could not love him. In their eyes, though, he was now 32. He did not have any regular defined activity or position in society, whereas among his comrades one was already a colonel and an imperial aide-de-camp, one a professor, one the director of a bank and a railway, or the chief of an office like Oblonsky, while he knew very well what he must seem like to others, was a landowner, occupied with breeding cows, shooting snipe, and building things. That is, a giftless fellow who accounted to nothing and was doing, in society's view, the very thing that good-for-nothing people do. Nor could the mysterious and charming Kitty love such an unattractive man as he considered himself to be, and above all, such a simple man, not distinguished in any way. Besides that, his former relations with Kitty, the relations of an adult to a child, because of his friendship with her brother, seemed to him another new obstacle to love. An unattractive, kindly man like himself might, he supposed, be loved as a friend, but to be loved with the love he himself felt for Kitty, one had to be a handsome and, above all, a special man. He had heard that women often love unattractive, simple people, but he did not believe it, because he judged by himself that he could only love beautiful, mysterious, and special women. Yet, after spending 2 months alone in the country, he became convinced that this was not one of those loves he had experienced in his early youth, that this feeling would not leave him a moment's peace, that he could not live without resolving the question whether she would or would not be his wife, and that his despair came only from his imagination. He had no proof that he would be refused, and now he had come to Moscow with the firm determination to propose and to marry if he was accepted. But he could not think what would become of him if he were refused. End of chapter 6.